This is a penetrating oil that is actually vegetable-based penetrating oil, and it does have a a hardener that comes with it that needs to be added. It's 9-to-1 ratio. It comes in a 1.25 liter, and Larry is actually, we're going to make small batches for display purposes today to lay it down. There is a 6 to 8 hour time frame open that you can actually apply, mix it and actually apply the craft oil. You do have a 15 to 30 minute time frame that once you apply it, you have 15 to 30 minutes to let it dry, come back, and you use we like to use these single cloths that we have that will actually span the whole width of these red pads to actually get the craft oil up and to help penetrate into the cells of the wood.
This guy?
Yes.
Okay.
With this craft oil, we do offer the craft oil soap for care for the professional, and the craft oil 2K, the craft oil 2K care, and an actual the Bona Craft Oil 2K soap. This is to be used by the professional 1 to 2 times a year to actually get on the floor and clean it. And then you can use the Craft Oil 2K care as to replenish the oils in the wood to give it that richness of and oil type of look. A lot of guys like to use either the care, or they can use the oil also. That is an option also, just to go back in there with the same color oil and to give it another coat. For the homeowner though, we don't want them to be using the professional product because that has a little higher concentrate of actual oil. So we have this kit that they can purchase, and this cleaner is actually made for craft oil and penetrating oil floors. Okay, and they can use this weekly, every 2 weeks, every month, as need be.
Can regular Bona cleaner be used on craft oil clean?
We prefer the oil. It has a little bit of oil just to kind of to enrich it, so it doesn't dry out. You kind of want to keep applying that to give it that rich oil look. Using the regular cleaner, I think, is going to dry it out. Okay. Now with these panels, we water popped half, and we just sanded to 120. I say Joe did. So just like your sanding sequence, because that's a big part of craft oil, because craft oil, just like stained floors, you really need to do your due diligence as far as sanding and doing the proper sanding sequence. We recommend to sand up to 100 grit, and to finish up buffing with a 120. We recommend our multi-disc with black 120 paper to finish up for your final pass. But guys can screen it. I've been asked the question, do you recommend water popping? I do recommend water popping. I recommend water popping even when sanding and staining a floor. It just gives you that more uniformed appearance. It helps hide some of the blemishes, some of the edger marks and things of that sort, but it also helps unify everything. With craft oil, it also, and stain, it does a great job in opening the pores of the wood. And with craft oil, because it is a penetrating oil, it likes to get into the pores of the wood, and that's where it likes to live and harden up. So it's important to have a pretty big opening in the grain, and water pop will do that. So that is some of the benefits of water popping. So we offer the craft oil mix kit, and we developed this kit to help contractors to be able to work in smaller quantities or to do touch-ups or repairs much easier than having to waste a whole 1.25 liter can. So the theory behind it is we ship the craft oil 2K hardener in this measuring type of bottle, and it measures out per ounce. You just squeeze it and get an ounce. You can get a half ounce, and the ratio is 9 parts of the craft oil to 1 part hardener is to be used, and that's how you would actually mix it. The kit also comes with a nice little mixing bottle that has the different increments and square footage that you can actually use to fill up with craft oil, then use the rest with hardener. So it makes it kind of easy for the contractor to make the amount that they need. This also comes in use when you're doing a two-part system, two-color system. So you actually apply the craft oil, and we'll get into how you apply it. You know, trowel, buffing, all those things here as we do the demo. But with a two-part system, if you do, say, a charcoal, you let that dry for 10 hours, and then you want to put a frost to give it that kind of two-tone effect. You could actually use this so you don't waste the whole can, mix it up like Larry's doing here, and screw on this squirt top, and you can go and actually just squirt it on instead of having, or you can apply it with in the middle of the buffing pad like we'll show here in a minute. Also comes with a funnel and some gloves to kind of protect you from the hardener when you're mixing it. I'm going to show you here how to open the new Bona Craft Oil 2K can. The can is composed of the craft oil on the bottom here. On the top is the actual hardener that you need to add to the oil in order to create the chemical reaction. There's two ways you can go about doing this. The first is to take a screwdriver to pierce the top, hit it with a hammer, pierce the top. You'll go into the liquid. We'll show you here in a second how deep the top is. Then there's another bottom lid to it. You just hit that one more time, it'll pierce it, and the hardener will go into the liquid. In order to open this so you can get to the craft oil, there's a tab here. Sometimes it's a little difficult to open. You can take a screwdriver to help pry it, but you just kind of wiggle it and the ring opens up. You just take that, put it to the side. You have to actually wiggle that a little bit. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to do, and you can just take a screwdriver and kind of jar it up there. This is the isocyanate, so once you put your screwdriver into the top, and you hit it one more time, it'll pierce through this, and that's what causes the isocyanate or the hardener to go into the craft oil. And once you got that off there and the hardener's in there, you just take a stir stick and you stir it up, and you're ready to use it. With a neutral color, you're looking at a 8-hour approximate dry time with proper conditions. Sometimes you water pop, it's going to take a little bit longer. With the darker, all the other colors, you would do a 12-hour dry time. Okay. The most important part about this system, which would be a good selling tool for the contractors, is that you can actually top coat this with any traffic product. You have to wait till it's thoroughly dry, 12 hours, but you'll be able to top coat it. So you can do a natural over top of it. You can do a Traffic HD Extra Matte. You can do any of the traffic products.
What's the full cure time?
On this product, you're at 70% at 24 hours, and after a week, you're 100%. Yeah.
With traffic on 12 hours?
Light traffic after 24 hours. Light traffic after 24 hours.
And the traffic finish?
Oh, finish. Yeah, that's going to be 12 hours. 12 hours, yeah. And if you do water pop, you may want to, I would give it a little bit extra just to be safe. I mean, depending on, like yesterday would have been definitely more than a 12-hour dry time day. You can trowel it on. Believe it or not, a lot of guys do like to trowel the oil. Or you can actually buff it on with the red pad. The one technique that we like to show is in the center. You can fill it, we say up to 1/2 inch of that circle. You fill it with the craft oil, and you can actually just buff it on. I recommend that you get somebody to cut in for you. I like to come in at least 12 inches. We can trowel it on. You can use a cutting pad. Some guys like to use a brush. Am I missing anything, Larry? Oh yeah, yep, squeegee, thanks Rob. Little key factor that I like to bring to everybody's attention, that with this trowel, most of the trowels come with a sharp point. I took a file, and I file the edges, because the last thing you want to do is kind of get up on an edge and then cause, especially with a water pop, or even one that's not water pop, you can gouge the wood, and then you're going to see that.
Yep.
Okay. You will get approximately anywhere from, I say 700, but 600 to 800 square feet per 1.25 liter, which actually is a pretty decent spread rate. The other thing about the oil, what's nice about this oil, is you can see it spreads on really easy. So it goes a long way. Not only does it spread in easy and get into the pores, make it easier to get into the pores, when you actually go to buff this off in 15 to 30 minutes, it's easy to buff off. You're not getting, you don't feel that grab like you usually do with some of the other products.
Right. Okay. So it doesn't grab. So you just gotta. So
15 to 30 minutes.
15 to 30. So whatever you can. Let's say you got a guy troweling.
Yeah.
He can go a half hour ahead of you, and then you bring
Yep.
the buffers.
Yep, and then start going right behind them.
Half hour ahead of you.
Yep.
And
Yep.
still the buffer's not going to.
No, I would probably say about 20 minutes. I'd give you that halfway, between 15 to 30.
But you're not popping a breaker if. So.
Right.
Like one of the others, working like kind of, what you can get done in 100 square feet. There isn't that limitation.
No.
You can get,
You have a better open time. You do.
Okay.
And you're using on it? Like you're going to be walking in this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I like to wear booties, obviously.
Yep.
Some guys will go through some socks, but I'd rather use the booties. If you want to do, this is a one coat system, so all we say is you have to put one coat on. There will be times that you have a real thirsty floor, and it's gonna, it's gonna look better with two coats. So, but a lot of floors will just take one coat, and then you're done. What we do recommend is, if it's the same color, you can put a coat on, and you can wait 15, 30 minutes, and you can go ahead and put your second coat on. If you want to change the color, you can do that, but it's just going to bleed into everything. If you want that two-tone effect into the grain, like with a white in the grain, I would recommend, to wait the proper dry time. If it's neutral, wait 8 hours. If it's any of the other stain colors, dark pigment colors, you're going to want to wait that 12-hour dry time. Then you can come in with your frost or ash. The second coat, I would actually buff it in. Some guys trowel it on, and that's fine. The thing with when you're highlighting the grain like that, I like to buff it in from the center, start that way, but then I like to use the squirt bottle. I like to fill that up, let's say the frost or the ash. Yes, because this way you're not puddling into the end joints and open joints, and you're getting that white line. You have less of a tendency to get that. Okay. I think when you trowel on, you're going to have more of that effect of just puddling it into like the ends where it's gapped, and you get a white line type of effect. It is. That is very nice.
What about rags and that kind of thing? Still spontaneous?
Yes, very important. Yep. Just treat them like regular rags from stain, so they will combust. I like to lay them out, let them dry out.
Same thing.
Very important, because you say vegetable oils, but you'd be surprised they still will combust. Drying agents. Yep. Larry, I tell you what. So we're gonna buff this one on.
Let that go, right?
Yeah, we're gonna let that go for about 15 minutes, and then we'll show you how to buff it off.
You don't want to buff it off for at least 15 minutes, right?
Right.
And that's like you want to make sure it's penetrating.
Correct.
That you're waiting.
Absolutely. Yep. 15 to 30 minutes is what we recommend. Then we tell you to come back, and then we can use one of these red pads, and we'll put a towel underneath of them. Now you're going to have to obviously flip them pretty regularly and change them out, because they'll get loaded up with pigment as you clean off the floor. So when we're filling this up to actually the buff it on, I'm going to fill this up about, for display, for demo purposes, just about 1/4 of an inch, because it's going to go a long way. Maybe if you can, we can try to trowel on the edges for me. Okay. Larry, you want to go ahead and hit that edge?
Gun, you walk away, there's one coat on the floor. I know you said this already, but customer can move the furniture back in a week.
You can move it in. I mean, look, light traffic in 24 hours. If you pick up and place, you should be fine.
Okay. So pick up in place, but no rugs.
Correct, at least till it's fully cured. Yep, yep.
Why'd you slip, Tony?
It started spitting like that. It's just too much oil in the applicator. So when that happens right away, it's telling me, you know what, it's loaded up. It's time to freshen it up. So that's why I say, you know what, a little bit goes a long way. Even half full is probably a little too much, to be honest with you. Now, obviously, we would have troweled all the edges in here, but for demo purposes, we're just gonna compromise here. We're probably gonna end up running out of color here, but I just wanted to show you for purposes of the difference between water pop and not water popped. Again, this was sanded to 100 and then a 120, I believe 120 screen, or you can do a multi-disc.
Right.
120 black paper is what I recommend.
This is close. Right, that's what
What
we did.
color is this?
This is clay, yes.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
I mean, the good thing about it is, you know, it's only the pores, the cells of the wood aren't going to take so much product, so you just have to work a little bit harder on trying to get that off.
Right, okay.
Like what I'll do is just, you know what, you can always just like stain when I have to go over something and I kind of leave a little bit of a heavy mark. I just kind of try to blend it out, just like that, so it's not as. There we go. Yeah, you know what, Rob, you bring up a good point. This, yeah, you do. This is a matte finish. It's going to be more like almost like an extra matte finish. So the sheen level is going to be a matte finish. That's what you're going to end up with. You're not going to have like a satin or semi-gloss. Obviously, you know what, you can try to polish it, but I think your best part, the best point at that time is if the customer wants a semi-gloss. That's the unique thing about this system, is that once it's dried, say 12 hours, longer if it's water, possibly if the humidity's higher. So what happens is, say the customer's like, well, I really don't like that extra matte look. The nice thing about it is then you can come back, you could put natural on there, or you could put like a satin traffic HD or regular traffic satin over top of this, and then now you have not only have protection as far as wear layer, you also have a sheen to it now. You can control the sheen. I haven't heard of any bleed back that we've experienced in the craft tool. I mean, it's always that possibility that you may have, you know, a board that is, you know, that's a lot of times that's when you're getting it off. You know, if you're buffing or even trowel on the one, I think a lot. So now I'm starting to feel like it's loading up. Yep. So at this point, yep.
So once it's dry, you're good, right? Once you see that it's dry, you don't have to buff it
Correct.
anymore. You just let the chemical take over.
Yep.
Will more oil loosen up the oil? Like after, you know, that 3-hour window, whatever that open time, if you're past that, and you see you left a heavy edge, like in a corner,
Yeah.
where it's,
Oh, I see. And it's dried.
you know, it's like, I don't know,
Yeah, you wanted to come back, we wanted to fix this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, and that was caused by heavy oil that you didn't get off. And it was
it was
3 hours
shiny.
later and you left.
Yeah.
Because you went and did other parts, and then you're coming back and you go, oh, I didn't get that corner real good.
Yeah, I would. You know what I would hit, like take maybe a Scotch-Brite or a maroon pad. I would try to hit that a little bit, just lightly. Then I would take a rag, one of the rags, and just go over it and try to see if I can get some more pigment off of it. Okay. Yeah, but you can try to use that. I used to use that quite a bit with some other craft oils. You know, when you see a heavy spot like that, don't be shy to use the pad, the maroon pad.
Unbelievable. This stuff is definitely looser than some other stuff that we've worked.
The question was asked about this, about the Tampico brush, and the reason I brought this out was this is used in the cleaning process, like the vacuuming of the wood. Say after you're done sand and finish of the hardwood, you vacuum it. This one is a good. This is a good idea to put onto the buffer. It's called Tampico brush. Very soft bristles. You run that on the buffer with the vacuum hooked up over the raw wood, and it has a tendency to get into the pores of the wood, loosen any of the dust that sanding dust that actually found its way into the little pores of the wood, lift them up and suck them out, or at least just loosen them up so you can do a vacuum and then a tack coat. And that kind of alleviate the potential of having sawdust contaminated into the either stain or, as you have here, craft oil. See, again, it just started spitting like that. So right away, for whatever reason, it's loading up in that pad. We're just going to go ahead and turn it and get it dry. Just wanted to show you guys how the guys will actually incorporate using this squirt bottle. You don't need a whole lot. I like the squirt bottle because it saves stopping, tilting the buffer, and having to fill the center hole. Just makes it a lot easier. And like I said, doesn't require a lot. There we go. Actually, when you exit a room and you're left with that heavy spot, I wouldn't leave it. I like to blend it in. You can still see where it's taken off more.
Yeah,
So there's quite a,
but it's also cleaned up those wheel marks.
yeah, real nice. Yep. I'm going back here a couple times, just with the towel.
Yeah.
You know, maybe get the majority of heaviness out with the towel, and then come back with a white pad, and just take up even more. That is pretty though.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
That's the hot Birchwood look.
Imagine the ability now, you know, if somebody doesn't want to spend all that money in maintenance, to put a coat of traffic on it now, or natural. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, to lock that in, that is beautiful. All right, after we we go and take the towel, the terry cloths, and put it on the red pad and get the excess up. I like to just come back with a white pad and go over the floor one more time to get any excess off that maybe the cloth did not get. You want to make sure you get as much as the oil that has not penetrated off the surface, so you get a proper dry floor and you don't have pigment on top. It's taking forever to dry. So always be cautious and go that extra step to just make sure you're getting all the pigment off the top of the surface of the floor. And just like the white towels, I would flip this as you go. Depending on the amount of pigment that you have on the floor remaining, you'll start feeling it grab a little bit, and you know it's time to stop, and just go ahead and flip that. Very little.
Got it.
My son's in-laws live on a farm in Pemberton. So yeah. Oh yeah. Zucchini and tomatoes. Oh my god.
My buddy just got in.
All right, so we've given this 15 minutes. This is the Garnet Bona craft oil. We have the side that is water popped and the side that is not water popped. We're going to go ahead and get the red pad with the towel wrapped around it, and we'll give it its first pass and get the excess off the floor. Again, the recommended time to let this sit is between 15 to 30 minutes. And then you can get on top of it and remove the excess with a towel. Okay, once you pass the floor and get the excess up with the terry cloths, you can actually take a white pad and go over it again to try to get up any oil that you missed. One other thing to keep in mind when you're making these passes, you kind of want to just go 50% over and cut into the pass that you just made. You don't want to go over too far, and before you know it, you just missed a whole maybe 2-3 inch strip. So always just go about 50% over.